said, oh, it's time to go. And they turned to walk away, and I went to walk with them, and they turned around and said, you can't come yet. It's not your turn. And I remember that. And I said, no, but I want to go. And they said, no, you can't come yet. It's not your time.
Heartfelt conversations can change the world. Here's the Epic Cade podcast.
Hello, Catana. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad for the chance to talk to you again.
Hi, Katie. I love being back. I love our conversation the first time. Looking forward to this.
It's been so long. So the reason that I reached out to you is I am just really interested to hear about people's spiritual journeys, where they're coming from, what's guiding them now. I don't remember exactly how I phrased it in my message to you, but I'm very intrigued about what you said to me, that you said that you had a very powerful dream, and because of that dream you felt like this was a really good time to chat. And I'm like, oh boy, let's jump right into that.
Oh my God.
If we may.
Now I am struggling to remember the dream that, it was a spiritual that had to do with growth and rebirth, coming into new, the weird way it shows up. So my brain does some really funky stuff, and it likes to show up in really weird ways. And in this dream, which was extremely lucid and very vivid, like it was happening right now, I had a guy in black shoes, Levi's, and a khaki shirt, kind of a button-up khaki shirt, wearing sunglasses that were so big they kind of blocked who it was. I couldn't really identify it, but I could tell you it was a man, and he had short brown hair, like business hair. I call it business hair, but and he was following me everywhere, and I kept telling everybody he was trying to kill me. But yet he had never said anything, never done anything but follow me. And my perception, my intuition was he was trying to kill me. And then he ended up on a moped. Apparently I moved quick enough that he had to be on a moped to keep up with me, which in a way kind of, to me, represents that awareness. So the more aware you become, of course, I've been on this journey for 3 years, 4 years now. And I progress quickly, I guess is the where I was trying to go with that. I do progress a little quick. As soon as I get something, but I think I've always gotten bits and pieces along the way since I was little, because I can look back now and go, oh, I just didn't know what that was, but it was there. And now it makes all these pieces come together and make complete sense. And I think that that's what that was, is that this is stuff that's happening quickly. And it's moving, I'm moving out of dying off from old things and moving into new spaces, which would be not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And learning, being back in a space that was previously a space of hurt, big hurt, and having new choices. And learning lessons that I didn't learn the first time.
So do you think that this guy kind of represented like wanting to pull you back from that progress?
No, I felt like it was a representation of the progress, because nothing bad was happening. It was my perception that, oh, well, he's trying to kill me, which when I look back on my history, that would have been the perception that I had of what people were doing at the time. It wasn't that it was hurting people. It was that they were trying to take me out. I always felt that way from the abuse that I went through with everybody, was that they just didn't like me and they wanted me gone. So, but I don't feel that way now. With the tools that I have and with the inner work that I've done, I realize, oh, wait a minute. They were hurt people. They did the best they could with the tools they had at the time.
So,
And that's where I was. And now I'm moving forward as well.
so is there more to this dream that led to you wanting to chat about all of this?
Just wait, just all the things that you shared about, that wonder, just staying in the moment of looking at what's around us and being in wonder. I love the tape, the sticky tape that you had done, the wonder tape or whatever that was, and the dirt when you did the plant, and the nurturing and the care, and yet that fear of, what if I'm hurting this poor little thing? I just loved watching this because I've been there. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I, have done something wrong to this? But in reality, we're nurturing, we're bringing further along things, and then our conversations, of course, that we've had in the phone calls that we share and stuff, the space of really learning more about ourselves. And I think that dream really opened that, because
Mm,
now I know more than ever that I'm really, really stretching to really discover who I am. I don't think I really know yet
mm.
fully who I am.
I like that, stretching to discover who I am. I'm writing this down. So, to provide some context for those of you listening that don't know what that means, or mentioning sticky tape and dirt, I also vlog. I have a vlog channel called Epic Kate, and Epic Kate Beyond Vida, and I share just vulnerability, silliness, just real life, things that bring me joy, things I'm struggling with. And sticky tape refers to, I had this washi tape and I was trying to tape a microphone to my phone so that it wouldn't flap, and it did not go well, let me tell you, but it was fun. I'm glad I captured those memories. And with the dirt and being careful, I was propagating some aloes, and I really wanted to take care of this little tiny baby and my big main aloe, and I wanted to not have it out of the dirt for too long, and I was just living in that moment. And that's something that I'm really glad that living in the moment theme is something that's resonating with you too.
Yes. And it just dawned on me, that's a representation of ourselves, both external and internal.
The dirt.
Representing the well, the dirt too. We get dirty when we start to really investigate ourselves, but the big self that we are, and especially as women, we propagate, and but that little inner part of us that we want to nurture,
Mm.
that, you know part of discovering who we are, and oftentimes through our inner child that got injured so long ago.
And just those lies that formed, those beliefs
Yes,
that were planted in us before we really could even be aware that that's what was happening.
exactly.
So you said that this journey that you've been going on for 3 or 4 years, that you've been progressing quickly on, what does that journey look like for you?
Oh, messy, challenging, scary, fun, uh, lively, embracing, um, like comets and uh, I'm trying to think of eclipses,
Ooh.
things that um, there's so many aspects of learning the tools that, fear is something our brain does to keep us safe. And that shows up in everything we do. And fear is smart. It knows what we know. So when we become more aware, so does it. And when we start to step into taking risks, fear shows up and says, hey, are you sure you want to do that? That didn't work before. And then you start to self-doubt. And there's been a lot of learning from that. So not only did I learn that fear keeps us safe, it's also what breeds anger and all of those other emotions that we go through. And that's perfectly what we're supposed to do. We're not a one thing fits everything being. We have facets of emotions. It's the choices we make, and it's our understanding of why they're possibly showing up, the lessons that we're meant to learn, and hopefully we're going to learn them so that we don't keep coming back in next lives. I am a big past life person. I'm on life number 8 out of 9. So there's a lot. This time has been meant to me that there's a lot of stuff I didn't learn before. And
There's a verse somewhere, I think it's probably the Bible or something, that's coming to mind, of like a dog returns to their vomit.
Oh, I love that visual.
Yeah, ain't it though? You're welcome. Sorry if anybody's not appreciating the visual. I don't mind the messiness of the literal mess, the spiritual mess. It's all part of it. So would you say that you're on a journey of awareness, or would you say it, how would you say it?
Oh boy, that's a good way. And that's a lot of part of the journey too, is really learning to define things with more than, it's bad or good, because things aren't just one way or another. I don't like to use the term black and white because that's so overused, but it's true. We like the emotions. We're beings that experience a lot of different energies all day long. And for those of us that are empaths, we pick up on energies that are around us. So if we go out into public and there's a large group of people that are experiencing a negative energy, we might pick up on that and not realize it until we're in the middle of it. And having those feelings and being able to recognize that. Yes, I think awareness is a big part of it, and discovery, because I think you might have put out a vlog, but I know a few other people who've put out some things as well, that we're more than just moms. We're more than just women, really truly understanding who we are. And I came to the realization about 2 weeks ago, I really don't know who I am, because I wasn't allowed to know that as I was growing up. I was what everybody else told me I was, which is where I realized breaking the cycle of negative self-talk has been so difficult. Because if I don't know what it is to be loved, if I don't know what it was to be happy, if I don't know what it was to have that enjoyment, those things that so many people draw upon, and those moments where people would normally be proud of you or things of that nature, it can really be challenging, as I have found. Oh, well, I don't know what that is. So I'm in this world of self-discovery and becoming aware of really who I am. And it's through your journeys. And I love your vlog. And I have to say that over and over, because I resonate with it. Having 3 grown children and 3 grandchildren, one of which is an adult and 2 that are halfway there, is scary. It's like, wow, okay, when did this happen? But I want to be positive influences for them, modeling for them. And I want to, use words with them that help empower them long into their lives.
Yeah, we're to plant those positive feelings, and so that they're not stuck with the same kind of baggage. Like we all will mess our kids up in some ways, but we get better and better and better as we grow a vocabulary of recognizing what's abuse, recognizing what boundaries should be in place, and then our kids can know even more than us when they are with their kids, to make less mistakes.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh, boundaries, just something I started learning last year.
Mm,
Didn't even, I had heard the word over and over and over and never really understood what boundaries were, let alone, enforcing them. So I know that there's a lot of things that I experience now, particularly with my children or with other family members or friends, that are a result of not having boundaries in place and enforcing them.
mm. So it all goes together. It all is connected. The whole discovering the woo aspects of life, and if anybody who's on a path of like what resonates with them, some people will be like, oh no, that's not for me, but this, this is mine. So did you have some kind of big spiritual like awakening boom moment when it comes to your past life journey?
Not boom moments, but big moments of clarity where I know that I see it. So one of the things that I know from an early age is that I started seeing things, images. In the beginning, they were, sketchy, so I wasn't aware of what they were or what they meant. I now know that I have clairvoyance, that I see spirits. Sometimes I only see the shadows that they allow themselves to be seen as, but I do see them. I feel them. Now I've actually started identifying some of them. I can actually see, like, in the space that we're living in, although I did a ceremony to let her move on, to give her
Mm,
permission to move on. It was an 11-year-old girl from like the 1800s. And she had long brown hair and she wore that white dress with the blue. It was like a white cotton dress that had the little um,
like lace or something?
frilly, yeah, the little frilly neckline, and then a blue sash and blue trim
Mm,
with the blue ribbon. And I could see that she would play outside in the yard, and there was a white fence. I mean, it was as livid as it is right now.
wow.
And she would come and stand next to me in the room. And that just really blew my mind. But then I started realizing, oh, wait a minute, I'm seeing also glimpses of my past. And I started connecting those glimpses from the past with the ways that I interact with people now.
Mm,
For instance, certain things that trigger me. Um, I know I was a warrior many times in many past lives. And so when people would use the term, because this is a big term in the woo-woo world, surrendering. To me, all I could see was the white flag, and that was not going to happen. That's how my body, and it was a full body response. My heart rate would go up and I
mm,
would start to get agitated. And I'm like, what is this? Because I couldn't understand. I had done a lot of questions around, with people that had been through years of religion, because there is an aspect of surrendering that takes place in going through that. Having been somebody who was pushed out of the church at 12 years of age in a very harsh way, um, I think that added to the white flag syndrome. And then I had another friend who is also a clairvoyant flip the script for me so that she could see whether or not I'm seeing what I'm seeing is related to me. And she said yes.
mm,
She could see the warrior as well. And that it was an aspect of being taken out by my own creation. So a weapon that I created, and then I was taken out by it, by somebody else. So it was like, no, there's that. I'm not going to surrender to this. This is not going to happen. And after I started focusing on it and visiting that and letting it come in, I don't have that response anymore.
mm. So I've listened to a lot of podcasts and all kinds of things and quantum timelines, la 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 la. And so there's this theory that time doesn't exist. It's all happening at once. We're living all of our lives at once. And so there's, what do you feel about that?
Sometimes I say yes, because I know that there's also the aspect, and I'm going to bring it in, aliens. And because I've actually interacted with aliens and I've seen different alien aspects, I've been told by other big guru, psychics that have said, oh no, you've spent time out with the aliens and there was something you learned that you were meant to bring back.
Okay, that's going to be a whole other episode if you're up for it with me. Like,
I
am there for it. Like,
yes,
for anybody watching this who is having expectations about me and what I should believe, you know, I was never allowed to believe in anything but angels and demons. And now I don't know. And I'm happy to not know. I'm happy to live in the wonder of the gray. And so I want to hear all the past life aliens. I want to hear it all, and I want to hear people's experiences. And I'm never gonna say to someone, oh no, that couldn't have happened. You're crazy, What does it hurt to just listen to someone and say, and just while you're listening to them, just think, hey, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that their experiences are real. And I'm just going to put aside that voice that says, no, 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 you know?
I do. And the interesting thing is that, as I mentioned, I had a really ugly event with the church that I was a member of at the age of 12. And so when I stepped away strong, and I was pushed out of every, what I refer to as boxed institution that embraced their type of religion, their way of seeing it, because there are many different ways of it being viewed. Though I went through, whether I was an agnostic, whether I was atheist, I mean, there was a lot of hurt. So I went through all of these different facets of understanding the religion. And then when I read books from all of these different types of religions from different age groups that they target, the way that the books are written for children or for teenagers, for people of different languages, and all of these different interpretations. The one thing that and watching my own youngest child, my youngest one, understanding that God, Gaia, goddess is God's, the universe, divine, however you want that to be represented to you, is a personal one-on-one experience. I do emphatically believe, and I do emphatically believe that prayer works. I've seen it work for my youngest son who has congenital glaucoma. I don't believe he would be seeing today if it wasn't for the prayer chains that people put together for him. That does not mean that I embrace boxed institutions, but I wholeheartedly embrace, spirituality. But I also believe that comes in many different ways. So I'm very open to all of these different experiences that I've had, and rather than go, no, this is just craziness, this can't be happening, I've actually embraced it. There are times, so time, I love that you brought this up. There are ripples in time. Yes, there are moments that I can tell you I sat down emphatically, just like it's happening now. I sat down to watch a TV program. 2 hours later, I'm watching something else, and there's no clue. And I was sitting right there. 2 hours went by, and I can't describe to you anything other than sitting on the couch, watching the TV. I wasn't asleep. Everybody was interacting with me as they informed me. They said, no, you were right here interacting with us, but I cannot account for that 2 hour period of time.
Whoa.
up to 3 hours. And it's happened more than once. I have driven places and shown up 4 hours later and gone, whoa, where was I?
I think it must just be super lonely and confusing for people that have these experiences when they just know, or they know they just don't trust the people they love to with those experiences, because they're doctors and lawyers and they're respected members of the family, and if they were to suddenly say this, then they would lose that. It's like you don't have anything to gain by putting the woo woo out there for the most part.
That's so true. And one of the things that I've learned in these 3 years is that being true and authentic to yourself means it doesn't matter what anybody else says or thinks. What they think is none of my business.
Yeah.
That was a hard pill to swallow. That was a hard, because it also comes back to judgment, which ironically was my New Year's resolution for 2019, to be less judgmental. Most people are worried about losing weight, being more toned, gaining more money. I really wanted to focus on being less judgmental.
Ooh.
And every time I found myself judging somebody, I stopped and asked myself, what if somebody was doing that to you? And then I come to realize, and through other people, that when we're judging others, we're judging something that's within ourselves.
So here's a way to tie things together a little bit: to surrender the judgment. Then, like, okay, you can think that, and I'm going to let go of feeling like I have to change you, I have to fix you, I have to make you understand, I have to make you like me, whatever.
Yeah.
And also the surrender thing, going back to the past lives thing. Like, have you found a way to, oh, okay, I acknowledge that I've had these experiences and this is why this triggers me? And so is it, once you can identify, oh, I'm triggered by the word surrender because I was a warrior that would never surrender, so that you can say to that warrior, okay, this is a different time and place now. This doesn't mean what you think it means. This is for our growth, and this is for us to move on. So I don't need you anymore to protect me. Is that resonating at all?
Oh, big time. Yeah. It's about healing each one of those. So I'm able to stand up and go, no, look, we made it. We're still here. We're good. All is well. Yes, we're going to have challenges. Yes, we will overcome them, as we have and continue to do, even if we don't know how we're getting through them. Sometimes it's okay not to know. Sometimes I think we get caught up way too much in the need to know. And I think the need to know creates a lot of stress. And that's something that I'm intimately familiar with. My body has been destroyed from stress. I'm going through all kinds of medical tests that I have put off for at least 5 years or more, 10, some of them 20, because I chose to focus on other people, thinking that if I focus on myself, then I got to know. And in ways I wanted to know, but then I didn't want to know. But I think that need that we tell ourselves, I got to know, and it ultimately prevents us from taking risks that might benefit us.
That kind of makes me think back to the whole ghost thing and moving on. Like, I have this theory that with ghosts, a lot of them, it could very well be religious trauma. It's that I will go to hell and suffer forever for what I've done. I can't move on. And maybe even I need to know what it's going to be like, but nobody can know what it's like until they follow that tunnel of light all the way through to its conclusion. when the silver cord is cut, and it's bliss forever in the adventures of whatever's beyond.
That's really an interesting thought, and that is true. And I know that I've had near death. Well, I've died and come back a couple times. And one of those times when I was 13, I was undergoing surgery, and I actually went through the light and met up with two family members. And I was with them in this, to me, what I now understand was what I considered an idyllic place with the idyllic way of seeing things. And it was here in the Bay Area. That's where my family is from. And we stood and observed all the people and all the things around us. That's what I remember from that experience. And it was just perfect. Everybody had a house, everybody had a lawn, everybody had a little fence, and there was an ice cream truck. I was 13. Come on, so in my perfect world, my brain brought that there was this ice cream truck. Everybody was laughing, everybody was helping each other, everybody loved. I felt the love in that space that I wasn't getting outside of that space. And then the sun set. So very much a very interesting process, because the whole thing goes, and then the next thing you know, the sun sets, and my great aunt and my cousin, who were the two people that I met up with, said, "Oh, it's time to go." And they turned to walk away, and I went to walk with them, and they turned around and said, "You can't come yet. It's not your turn." And I remember that. And I said, "No, but I want to go." And they said, "No, you can't come yet. It's not your time." I've never forgotten that. And then I came back. But so when you were describing the light and then cutting it off, you're right. That was like, to me, I guess you would call that the staging place.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to a lot of these near-death experience podcasts. I could really realistically sound like I've had one myself with how many I've listened to. I just find it so fascinating. And the people always talk about, like you said, they talk about it being so filled with love that they are usually just so pissed off to come back to stinking Earth, the toughest school of them all.
That's one of the things that I've always remembered in moving forward, and always moving forward, even when all else. I mean, I've attempted suicide 9 times in my lifetime. 8 of those were before the age of 18. And boy, was I angry when I made it through. I woke up and went, here I am. And I realize now that it's because it wasn't my time. When you see the horrible things that happen around you, even though there are times that I cry because I think it's horrible when people do things to children. Mm-hmm. But if you look at maybe what the contract of the soul was, that may have been that one lesson they needed to learn. Mm-hmm. And then it was their turn to move on.
I've heard this theory, these people giving their experiences of their between life regressions of things, and that when you're in this middle state between lives of just pure bliss, you don't have a body, you don't have physical sensation, you just have bliss and love and sun, and everything's perfect, and you absolutely forget what suffering actually feels like. It's just this concept. And so they're like, people are like, "Oh, I'm going to learn all these lessons. I'm going to have a really rough life, and I'm going to grow so much, and it's going to be awesome." And they bite off more than they can chew. And then, I can see. and then they're in way over their head, and they're really suffering. It's like, how dare you say that I would choose this? I would never choose this kind of suffering.
I was there once. Only now, with all the inner work that I've done and with the mentors that I've worked with, I really, really see things very differently now. And I can understand where, you know, going through all the illnesses, going through the child molestations, the rapes, the beatings, the tearing down verbally, which, by the way, I think far exceeds anything you take on physically. Because the words stay, you heal physically. You might have scars, which I have plenty, but those actually, you begin to forget that they're there. It's the mental scars. It's that negative, it feeds into the negative self-talk, and it becomes the bigger obstacle to overcome, which is where I'm 56 years old, and I am working through this so that my daughter, my granddaughters, even I'm watching my mother, who was one of my abusers and still does in ways that she doesn't understand. But it's because she doesn't know. She wants to come out. She started to talk about things. And so the more I heal myself, the more I'm seeing it happen all around me within the same family structure, because it's part of the DNA ancestral healing. And so whether they realize it or not, it's all part of the same thing. And then as they step into that and go, well, like my mother has a best friend that she started to tell things to, things that she has never shared with anybody else. And that's awesome. Unfortunately, we just learned that her friend is about to pass away from cancer. She had breast cancer and survived that and went into remission for 2 years, and now it's in her liver. So it has metastasized. And I see pain that she's going through, and I know the pain that I am still experiencing from my friend that passed away in February. I've not felt this way before. So I feel like there was a connection that must have been on a soul level that is that lesson, because everybody else, I mean, through the experiences I've had growing up, I've seen death in many ways, many ways. Even as an adult, I watched people blow up in a car, and you would think that that would have more of an impact on me than just my friend passing away. But her passing has had more impact on me than anybody. And I never dreamed that this would finally come out, but maybe that's where it needed that one particular soul contract that came in, because we were just I always joke that she was like a sister, even though she came from another father and another mother, that there was some other connection, and we knew that. She was a big part of my world, and I was a big part of her world. And I see that connection with my mother and her friend. So I do feel for her in that way.
Like that's what the thing that's so, it speaks so much truth to me about these experiences. Like, it's not just past lives, ghosts, aliens for fun, for poops and giggles, no. It's the truth that I can feel out of it is that it's all towards getting tools, practical tools to help you move on with your trauma, to be a fuller, loving, forgiving person. Like, looking at the fruit of the work, like the fruit of the work is peace, patience, love, kindness, joy. And like the fruit of the church is judgment, fear, condemnation, sadness, bitterness. It's like, I want to follow the fruit that actually leads towards good stuff.
And I truly believe it's how we choose to interpret even what was written in the Bibles, because I can read many of even reading the Quran, and of course it's translated because I don't know Arabic, but in the translations, so you're getting that translation. But having read the different versions, I realize at that point that it's each person's experience that gives them their interpretation. And that just was freeing in so many ways, because it's like, okay, well, that's just because they understood it that way. And then you bring in the human factor. We are, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but we're animals. We are part of the animal kingdom. And we do have reactions in packs. So if you have a large group of people that go, well, let's think this way, then that will be positive or negative or somewhere in between. But it's an interpretation, and there might be a group of people like I don't know if you've ever seen the case about the girls in Florida, the cheerleaders, that the mom got to kill one of the other girls because they just didn't like her. She was too goody for their liking. And they acted in a pack and they killed her. And they said that they were all charged, but that the courts also recognized that there were a lot of them that got caught up in the pack mentality. So when you bring people together, it's kind of like what I was talking about with the prayer chains. For better, for worse, those collective energies can be really, really intense. And I feel like religion and anything else, really, all of it, everything we think about and all the things that we do can be that same kind of experience through that same energy.
That is
So
so
the different,
yeah. So I'm positive that you have used your art in processing. I mean, I know some of the story of art that you've used to process, like your project we talked a bit about in the last podcast, to your photography project to capture your childhood traumas. But how about art in processing the spiritual things and the beautiful things, the complicated things, the things that there just aren't words for?
yes, I have their visions. So with my artwork, it's always been through visions. So I don't just, it isn't like, oh, well, I've not been that person that does what I refer to as motel art. You're not going to find it on your average wall, hanging where everybody's always going to, well, you'll see it on somebody's wall somewhere. I have sold a lot of artwork, especially my tactile art. I love texture. I love textures. That was something I discovered in the process. But like, I have a piece of art on my wall right now that blew my professor away, because it was the final piece that I presented at the end of my semester, and it was 150,000 degrees off from what I had done before. And everybody's like, even my husband just asked me the other day, he was looking at it and he goes, do you mind sharing with me what the interpretation, what was it that your meaning behind it is? And I shared it, and he was like, oh wow, because it has a lot of power. But it's just, for me, part of it is a big part of that. I'm a visual communicator. So I've always had the art. I've always done, since I could pick up a pencil, I've always done art. Pen and pencil was what I did for the most time. And then once I got into college, then it became a lot of different things. And for the longest time, it was black and white. Even my photography project is black and white. And in the process of learning for a paper that I wrote on the process of art as the healing, as the whole thing about healing, it's the process of doing art more than it's the piece that you create. It's that process, because you're working through it. So your mind is telling you what to do, your feelings are telling you what to do. Sometimes they're in conflict. I did not realize for a long time my work didn't have faces ever. That's part of trauma. I would not use color. That's part of trauma. So all of these things that I learned in writing this paper, which I would love to revisit and further that work. But it's also plays into what I do in Reclaiming Your Power, the program that I work with people. And contrary to my contemporaries and my counterparts out there, I actually determined that my cost for my program is meeting people where they're at, a donation of whatever they can afford. Because the fact of the matter is that I help women who've experienced domestic violence or violence. And many of them are not in a wealthy state because of those traumas. So whatever they can donate is where I meet them.
And I
Because
remember
I'm,
that, oh,
oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I remember you talking about the fact before that in your program, you don't have to have ever considered yourself an artist, that anybody can just pick up a crayon and a piece of, and in the back of an envelope. I mean, you didn't say that part, I'm saying this part, but
Right.
that it can be anything. It's just a process that can help you get it out there and find who you are apart from the trauma and the triggers.
And reclaim that power that went away
Yeah.
as a result. Then that's how they find more joy and peace in their life, because they get to reclaim that power. And it's through revisiting those things. So in a way, you're channeling yourself from the past. And I'm not a proponent of going, oh, I'm in the past and I'm reliving it and this is terrible. No, that's not what it's about. It's about hearing your story from yourself and putting it there, and then you get to create from there. So there's two parts. So there's the writing and the art part, and both are cathartic. It's a whole catharsis of putting it out there. That's why traditional therapy is considered powerful, because you're just letting it out. You're getting it all out there. Some people have easier times than others, but in a lot of ways, what I do is I tell people, and I usually take people through a little meditative process while they're writing. So I play in the background music that is designed for pulling things out, drawing things out of you, and releasing. That's the best word ever. I love release. I go, just consider it this way. You're looking for just a 3 to 5 sentence quick paragraph of something that is bugging you. Just like if you were on the phone back in, now I'm dating myself, back in the days when we sat on phones and we doodle or write something, and you're having that moment with somebody and you don't like what they're saying and you go, oh, that guy's a jerk, or something else. It's very much like that. You're just letting your body and your brain feel and process quickly. It's not about staying there for any length of time. And then after that, we extract from that a few words, and then you do drawings from those words. And then the next phase is to create pictures that either, if you want to make it bigger, one big one that's like, this is it, this is that whole mess, and leave it at that. And what I have found is that people then feel compelled to give the new version. So they have the art piece that's that version, and this is what they turn it into. Reclaiming their power. And then they feel energized. I've actually had a lot of success. I've got people that are now writing their books, doing their podcasts, have moved into the dream houses, are making millions of dollars. And it's just from and these are people that didn't want to go to regular therapists because they felt intimidated by that, pouring it all out there. This still keeps it somewhat intimate, but by showing the work, they're also helping other people come along that might feel, I didn't want to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just talking with a friend about how she got herself those crayons that she always wanted as a kid. The Crayolas with their sharpener
Oh,
in
yes.
and she got them for herself as an adult and just was frozen in front of the paper of what do I draw? What can I draw? And it's like you could come up with this process yourself, but to have a coach, to have a mentor through it, and the fact that your program is built on a lot of academic research, it's got the science to back it up.
Hmm.
and
And the personal experience.
and yeah, and that's the most valuable thing of all.
Yeah.
But I think that we are just about out of time. So do you have
Goodbye so fast.
it does. It feels like we barely scratched the surface of like 15 other topics to just delve into. So I love that. Um, is there anything that you would like to say to our wonderful listeners? And yeah, one last happy thought.
One last happy thought for me is do everything you can to reclaim your power and find your joy and peace in life.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Boom. Oh man, thank you so much for just taking this time, and I really appreciate you. And if you want to go back and listen to our other conversation, I will link that. And I will of course give all of Catana's links to her social medias, to her art projects and her coaching opportunity. And yeah, I was just the way I end my conversations is I give hugs. Hugs. Bye.
Bye. I appreciate you.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
I should know by now when the sun goes down, the earth's gonna turn and the heaven's gonna burn again. The earth's gonna turn and the heaven's gonna burn again.